The opinions expressed by Peter Wexler, Robert Quittner, Kyle Plotkin, Michael Hart, Nicholas Hamner, and guests on this show are their own and do not reflect the opinions of this network. All statements and opinions expressed are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Past performance cannot be used as an indicator to determine future results. Any strategies mentioned may not be suitable for everyone. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for you. Before acting on any information mentioned, please consult with a qualified tax or investment advisor to determine if it is suitable for your specific situation. This program is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information with regard to the subjects covered. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management LLC, aka BCM, a registered investment advisor. BCM and Franklin Retirement Solutions are independent of each other. Insurance products and services are not offered through BCM but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.
All right, welcome back for another episode of Solving the Retirement Puzzle. As I am every week, my name is Nick Hamner, and I am your host for Solving the Retirement Puzzle. With me, as always, are Michael Hart and Kyle Plotkin. We are all three advisors with Franklin Retirement Solutions. We work with retirement and income planning, working with people who are getting ready to retire or who have retired, making a way for their money to last as long as they do. Nobody needs to run out of money before they run out of time. We're going to keep it short this week, hopefully. We'll see. Watch the timer below to see if we actually do it. So I'm going to start off with a bang and talk about income planning. Now, you guys know one side of income planning is making sure you have enough money, but the other side is making sure your costs don't spiral out of control. You know, if you budget for a $500 car payment or no car payment, and all of a sudden you bring in a $750 car payment, that's a major change. That's going to require some finagling. And I'm bringing this up because I was in Sam's Club this weekend and they actually asked to see my card, not only when I walked in, but you have to physically scan your card when you leave or use the mobile app to check out. And that's part of the thing they're doing now to control subscriptions. I went to help somebody get tires, and whereas normally I could just say, here's my card, and they would take all their information and let the other person do the tires. Now, every point of contact is whatever's registered to the card. You have to be, the member name on the card has to be on the title of the car. Again, that's a subscription control. The first one who did this was Netflix all these years ago. Well, I say all these years ago, last year, because in 2022, Netflix had their first subscriber drop. They attribute it to subscription sharing, and now they put in geolocation controls where every Netflix subscriber has to be in the same geographic area to cut down on sharing passwords. You see it with Netflix, you see it with Hulu, you see it with pretty much any streaming service now. Spotify will actually make you log in from the host IP once every 6 months or so. And what does this have to do with income planning, you may be asking? Well, if you're sharing Costco accounts, if you're sharing streaming accounts with your kids, grandkids, whatever, all of a sudden you're going to have to pay for it. How much is a year of Netflix on its cheapest package?
I don't know. I don't know if it's the most expensive package, but I have when we bought a new TV for the new house that we moved into, I had to upgrade to the 4K. So I'm not sure which tier I'm on, but I think it's
Well, so figure if
okay.
it's $20 a month, that's $240 a year.
Yeah.
If you go from paying nothing to $240 a year and you're on a very tight income plan, that's a concern. So Netflix, Hulu, all of these are around. I mean, the cheapest is $8 a month, but still that's $100 a year.
Mm.
It adds up, and it adds up quickly. And you're starting to see it now at Costco. I mentioned them before as being a membership club, but they're going to actually scan your card when you walk through the front doors. So the hot dog and Coke might still be $1.50, but a $60 a year membership fee, that's a little bit more of a harder pill to swallow. However, I wouldn't present a problem if I didn't have solutions. So, You know the easiest solution to not having your own membership?
I was gonna say, are you about to launch the Nick Hamner shopping service
No,
where you take everyone's grocery list and you?
no.
Okay.
So the easiest way is to get your own membership. Costco, I don't know about because I don't shop at Costco. I just know about the $1.50 hot dog and soda. But Sam's Club, what were you going to say?
I was just remarking that you know about the $1.50 hot dog and soda, but you're not a member.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
you don't. There's no real. You don't really have a Costco close to
No.
you.
But Costco has discounted memberships. You can find them all day long on the internet. I can't search your computer for you, but if you go into Google and you look up Costco discount membership, you can do that. Sam's Club has a senior discount that is heavily discounted memberships, but it does require you to register with your federal ID and me. Like it will do a proper age verification. So I can't just log in and say I'm 65. White facial hair notwithstanding, I am not 65. But on the streaming side, it gets a little more complicated. It is possible. You can either set up a shared email address for everybody that's on the account. So if they have to do any verifications, everybody just logs into that one account. At my house, it is hamnerhouse at Gmail. Easy enough.
Get ready to get spammed. But now we're not on a podcast.
We'll see. That's not the full email address. No off position to the Genius Switch. I thought ahead. But you could also set up a VPN. I say you can theoretically set up a VPN. It's tricky, and it's probably just as expensive to set up a VPN and buy all the hardware to set up a VPN at the person who's hosting the account at their house, and then signing every other machine into that VPN. But it is a possible workaround at this point.
Reminds me of the guy that drives 10 miles to get 3 cents cheaper on gas.
Hi. Yeah. So there are solutions, but it's one of those concerns that you're going to have more and more as they continue, and I say by they, I mean the big companies, as they continue to commodify existence. You're going to have more and more subscription fees and just costs are going to add up. So that's something you need to add in when you're factoring in your income plan, figuring that out. How much money are you going to need a month? How much money are you going to need a year? And if you need help with that, that's what we're here for. And also tell you which gas station has the cheapest gas. If you have any questions on retirement income planning, especially your income plan, give us a call, 215-657-9200, or shoot out an email to us at info@franklinrs.com.
Not Hamner at Gmail.
No, thanks, Kyle. All right, Mike, it's your turn.
I was gonna say, speaking of streaming services, there's a.
Oh, we're back on the slideshow now. I don't want the slideshow. We'll stop it at this one.
But yeah, I have multiple family members who are, taking advantage of my generous subscription services.
Yep.
I-
All of them are easy to swallow for the most part. If you can deal with the ads, $8 a month isn't horrible, but if you truly cut the cord and you deal with like YouTube TV or Hulu with live channels, those are close to $100 a month. That's where it gets a little dicey.
Yeah, well, YouTube TV was like 60 when we first got it, and then as I said, we bought a new TV, so we wanted to upgrade to the 4K, which nothing is broadcast. The only thing I found so far that's broadcast in 4K is the World Series.
The Olympics was in 4K.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we upgraded for that. So yeah, we're close to I think $75, $80 plus the internet, and then plus all the streaming services. And then I don't know about you guys, but I can never find anything on TV worth watching.
No, I end up just like scrolling YouTube.
Yeah, it's it's awful.
We've been watching this guy on YouTube that just goes around to random places and interviews whoever he happens to find. He's been on a bunch of reservations. He was at the Cherokee boundary down in North Carolina.
Sounds like a channel you would start.
Well, he does really good to hide his face when he's like confronted with a bum or something, and that's always, he'll talk to him the same as he'll talk to the mayor of the town, and at the same time, I would be like, "So, how many dollars do you want out of my pocket?"
Do you know who Chris Gethard is?
No.
He's a comedian, but he has a podcast called Beautiful Anonymous,
Mm-hmm.
where like he gives out the number like 10 minutes before the podcast, and like whoever they pick up the phone with, they talk for an hour. So like he has no control over it whatsoever,
That sounds
and
dangerous.
it's pretty wild. Yeah.
All right, so
So,
YouTube notwithstanding, what do you have for us this week?
yeah, so I have an article from the Wall Street Journal that's titled "You Think You're Doing Fine in Life Until You Hear a Friend is Doing Better." And the article really just, and we've all heard of the phrase, keeping up with the Joneses. But they surveyed a number of people, and those people initially, felt like they were doing fine. And then after being, subjected to a bunch of Facebook and Instagram posts of their friends, then they felt like, well, how's everybody affording all these things? And so, obviously, the article dug into it. And one of the things that they found is that, you're not really getting the full story. We meet with clients all the time, and you hear stories about, people who manage their own portfolios and are picking, individual stocks and things like that. And we always say all the time, yeah, but they never tell you about their losers, right? It's like your friend who goes to the casino and somehow they never lose.
Mm-hmm.
They always make money every time they go to the casino. So you're getting some of that. And then a lot of it also is, with home prices going up the way they have, we're starting to see the emergence again of the home equity millionaire, where they're taking out these home equity loans and going on these lavish vacations and buying new cars or a boat, doing all these crazy things, and your neighbor across the street is going, well, how are they affording all this, and what are we doing that we can't afford all these things? And a lot of the times you're not getting the full picture. And so, there's an old saying that comparison is the enemy of joy. And so, I mean, it's important to remember that when you see people doing these things, buying these things, going on these trips, that A, you're not really getting the full story, and B, like they could be going into debt.
Well, if you can't pay back one loan, why not take out two? But no, that it's a very valid point, and you'll see it a lot with how to talk to kids about social media, and the constant comparisons and the constant just having to see somebody else doing better than you. And one important thing to remember is you are looking at someone else's highlight reel while you see your own behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You see all your successes and all your failures, and your failures will weigh heavier than any success, whereas nobody else is showing their failures.
Yeah.
Well, you're showing your own highlight reel. So like if you went back on your timeline for a year at your own posts, I'm pretty sure what you're actually posting is probably not an accurate reflection of your day-to-day life.
I'm pretty sure 3/4 of my timeline is just pictures of hot dogs I'm about to eat and dogs and awkward poses around the house. That's an exciting life here at Franklin Retirement Solutions.
Well, it's an interesting point because, like, I don't know if you've heard this before, but with my daughter, getting a little older now, like we've been told that you're not supposed to, like, all the toys at Christmas are not supposed to come from Santa. You're supposed to say like, hey, Santa brought some of this stuff, but not all of it. And the reason is because kids now will be like, well, I was good all year. How come Kyle got an iPad but I didn't? Like, it doesn't make any sense if it's all from Santa. So you're supposed to like partition.
Oh yeah, we were really good about that when my kid was young enough that they didn't know the truth. We had separate wrapping papers. We had separate tags. I would write the tags with my left hand. So there was, because they'll dive in and try to figure it out, especially when they get older.
Right.
So we tried our best to keep that really concealed and really differentiated. But yeah, so not to get distracted by Christmas presents and capitalism, but very valid points.
Yeah.
I like that quote. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
it hits.
I don't know if it was Churchill, but it might have been.
Sounds like it would appear on a college poster. Like that should be on the message boards of a lot of dorm rooms.
It should be.
I mean, don't wish for it. Work for it.
That's what I always say.
Yeah, I mean that's an obvious one. That's that you just put your head down and work.
But don't forget
You'll
to
get there.
live, laugh, and love.
It sounds like a fortune cookie
Yeah. Why are those in here, by the way?
for a prop.
Okay.
I'm gonna set the world record for fortune cookies in a single sitting. Shortly after
I'm
this
pretty
podcast.
sure you can.
If
All
anybody
right.
can do it, it's me.
So now we will slide over to Kyle and see what we can get out of this.
Get blood out of a stone. So
That's what we call a segue, folks. That is a prime #1 grade A segue. What are you trotting out of the?
Let's relax there, Nick.
What are you trotting out of the barn this week?
We got stock market. So last week, if you're watching this on a timely fashion, last week the market took a huge hiccup on Monday, and it was actually the biggest single day loss of 2024 thus far. So everybody was kind of scared as to, are we going into a recession? Is this a big crash? What's happening? Well, it turned out largely it was due to the Japanese situation that we kind of touched on last week. But of note, the S&P was up 2.3% on Thursday, so 3 days later, marking the biggest daily gain of 2024. So biggest loss followed up by the biggest gain.
Mm-hmm.
So had somebody panicked and sold out of everything that they had on Monday or Tuesday, all of a sudden they wouldn't have received that big gain on Thursday, where it made up a lot of what that loss had been. So one of the things, and Mike, I know you're aware of this, is that there's been a lot of studies done on whether or not you should stay in the market or get out of the market when times get rough. And a study has been done, and these numbers are actually through the end of 22, so it's a little bit old.
So who did the study?
This was from Franklin Templeton.
Okay.
And so a $10,000 investment made into the S&P index over a 20-year period. If you missed if you were fully invested, your $10,000 investment over that 20-year period would be $62,000 and change.
These are hypotheticals.
These are hypotheticals.
Don't rely on any of this. These are just hypotheticals.
However,
well, those hypotheticals, but this is actual.
This is actual back-tested data.
Right.
So if you missed just the top 10 days in the market over that period of time,
mm-hmm.
your 62,000 would only be at 28,000.
Wow.
If you missed the top 20 days, 17,000. All the way back down, if you missed the top 100 days, which isn't that many over the course of 20 years, your $10,000 investment would actually be worth $1,400.
Yep. And the idea, I mean, to your point, 100 days out of 20 years is just a fraction
5
of
days
the
a year.
days. The idea that you would be able to pick those 100 days and perfectly time the market is laughable.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. Was it 88% of mutual fund managers can't beat the market in 1 year, let alone trying to beat the market on average over the long term? It's highly unlikely that you're going to be able to do it. One other piece I have here. This is from First Trust, which is another one of the mutual fund companies that's out there, and they looked at it looks like the 15 worst days in the history of the S&P 500.
Okay.
The worst day being in 1987, and the one day
where
the market.
Black Tuesday?
Was it? It may have been. Yeah, I think it was.
Or was that Black Monday?
Black Monday.
Black Monday.
Okay.
Well, wasn't that from the Depression?
No, Black Tuesday was the Depression. Black Monday was 80s.
Okay. So anyway, the worst day in the history of the S&P was down 20.47%. Panic, right? Everybody would be going insane, I would imagine. 1 year later, the market was up 23%. And if we go down the list and look at the 20 or the 15 worst days in the history of that index, only one time, 365 days later, was the market not up 15% at a minimum. So, yeah, the market's going to have bad days. That's just natural. That's part of the market. It doesn't necessarily mean a trend. So something, again, as you're going through these things, or as these days happen, and it feels, oh my God, the sky is falling. And last week we talked about the emotion of it, trying to take the emotion out of investing, which is certainly difficult to do as things are happening. But generally, and again, this isn't a guarantee, but in most cases, it has paid to remain invested, or at least, be looking at the long term rather than just looking at one day or 1 week or 1 month at a time.
Yeah, a couple things to bear in mind. So, number one is when the market goes down, if you sell, right? When stocks go down, those losses are only on paper. But if you sell to get out of the market to try to avoid future losses, you're making those losses real. And we've already talked about losses and what they can do to your portfolio, and how if you lose 50%, now you need to make 100% to get back to where you're at before. I mean, this is all just another reason why it's worth it to come in and talk with a professional and work with a professional who, on days like last Monday, are going to keep you from making, brash decisions that could really, really hurt your portfolio. The quote that I really like from Warren Buffett: to be a successful investor, you need to be scared when people are greedy. So when everybody thinks that, this is a surefire way to make money and there's no way to lose, and, your neighbor who's never talked about investing in his life is all of a sudden giving you stock tips.
Yeah, that's when you get cautious.
That's when, yeah, right. You need to be scared when people are greedy, and you need to be greedy when people are scared. So when people are running for the hills, and it's the recession that we were all waiting for, and this time is going to be worse than any other time, that's when you need to be greedy. And, when we talk about this too is, when you guys go shopping, do you like things to be on sale, or do you like to pay, super high markups for the things that you're buying? And the answer, we always hear is, no, I like to buy things on sale. I like things when they're cheap. But for some reason, people don't like stocks when they're cheap.
No, they like stocks when they're high because, this has been going up for a really long time and it's been going up a lot. I think I'm going to buy some.
Yeah.
So I looked it up, not to completely distract and change the topic. Black Monday, 1987. Black Tuesday, 1929. Black Wednesday was a British crisis in the 1990s. Black Thursday was the first drop of 1929. That was the first big drop, and then they tried to repatch it over the weekend and make the moves, and then they had big drops on that Monday, and they had the final big drop that Black Tuesday. So that's Black Monday, Black Tuesday, Black Wednesday. Black Thursday was the big final drop, and Black Friday, great time to buy things on sale.
Do you do Black Friday shopping?
Not anymore.
Yeah.
If I do, it's at like 5 o'clock at night when everything's over with.
No, we have friends
That's
who
when
like
you do your Christmas shopping is 5 o'clock.
On Christmas Eve, that's when
yeah.
I do my Christmas shopping.
You're the guy rolling through Rite Aid, grabbing the last couple things off the shelf. Like, that's a great stocking stuffer.
I'm the guy that stays up all night on Christmas Eve wrapping all the stuff that I bought on Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Parenthood is great.
Does your quote board say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail?
Sometimes.
On Christmas Eve?
Yeah, that is a good one.
I
Although
prefer the 5 Ps. Proper planning prevents poor performance.
That's false. Perfect practice makes perfect. Regular practice, not necessarily.
Is this where we get into hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard?
That sounds like a hockey thing.
That's every JV coach ever. You're looking at the scrubs you got going against the natural athletes on the other side of the field, and you're like, okay, I gotta tell them something.
It's when the sum is greater than the whole of its parts, or the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Yeah. All right, we are now just off the rails, and to get us back on the rails, I will remind everyone watching this or listening to this, since we do put this out as audio as well as video, I will remind you that we are here to help with any retirement income planning questions you may have. Income, tax, healthcare, investment. That's what we're here for. That's what we do every day for all our clients. We would love to help you out with yours. If you have any questions for us, 215-657-9200, or you can give us an email at info@franklinrs. I will wrap that franklinrs.com. So I will wrap this up since I know we all have things to do, and I know you out there have things you need to do. So thank you for watching, and we will see you again next week.